Hi, Jen. So good to see you. How are you?
Hi, Eve. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, thanks so much for joining me. Um, I was thinking that there's just so much going on in the world, and I actually also have my Facebook group that I also wanted to share some of the things that you and I chat about and discuss, and get some deeper insights to what's going on in the screenwriting space, and kind of translate that into how people are feeling right now too. And obviously, very selfishly, some of the things that I want to chat about are where I'm at. And I do believe that many other writers may feel the same way, but we can unpack that. So, Jen, uh, kind of bouncing off that, um, a lot of writers have like these experiences, and they're not unique. And we always kind of need to tap into what we know in terms of our writing. But I think the question is like, how does one um, start to create a concept or a theme out of one's own experiences that is maybe a little unique? But what are the kinds of questions maybe that writers could ask themselves that can lead one on a path of a little bit more structure rather than a shotgun approach?
I love that. First of all, also in what you talked about in the intro, I love that you think about what means something in your life and recognize in a universal way how, if it's something that's plaguing you or something that you have worry about, that other writers might be thinking that as well. So bravo to you. I love the questions that you ask. I love the depth that we're going to go into with these questions. With the question about where do you start? So this is a very big question for many writers. And I think with everything going on in the world right now, you want to think about what is unique about your worldview. What makes your worldview compelling because of what has gone on in your life? So, with that thought process, you could ask yourself questions like, what are the main themes going on in my life? You could say, what are five main themes that are going on in my life? Then, with thinking about these themes, think about things like, what are the pivotal wounds that have happened in my life? What are flaws that are getting in the way of my dream because of these wounds? And how can I create a story where I have an arc of growth and a thematic question that is being drawn from my own life so that what I am turning into emotional truth versus autobiographical truth is something that could resonate with the masses. When
Mm.
you come at a concept from this place, then you are showing us that you can write this story in this way.
No, I really appreciate that. And, there's something you said to me as well that I just thought was amazing. Is that think about think about what has happened. I mean, I know this is obvious because that's what we're talking about, the wounds and the flaw and whatever. But it's so simple. Like, just think about what has happened to your protagonist that is driving them to kind of work through these things. And could you maybe just give an example of like a typical heartbreak or something like that, of two stories that have the same theme but have completely different threads? in plot in.
Well, I mean, the not to put me on the spot, but well, let's see.
I know
Well,
I am a bit sorry.
no, that actually is good. And I have a perfect answer to that because I think that is a great question to ask when you look at different characters with different themes. With the show The Bear, which you and I are both obsessed with, like looking at the second season of The Bear, you have the theme for Richie is finding purpose versus the theme for Carm is where does fun show up in my life? Very different character arcs and explorations based on the life phase that they're both currently in, as well as what has happened to them before. Like with Richie, we know he's going through a divorce. We know that he's upset with Carm because he's had to put Carm's family back together because Carm has been absent. With Carm, his way of dealing with emotion is workaholism, perfectionism, control, and the idea of, are you having fun doing your passion, and the recognition for Carm that no, I'm not having my passion is not fun, which is very universal for so many people to realize, how do I add fun to my life? So that is something that immediately came to mind. Now, obviously, when you look at heartbreak, as you mentioned, maybe a show like The Split on Hulu, when you look at how the wound that all the characters are going through, the mother and the three daughters have the same wound with the abandonment of the father 30 years before, and how that wound shows up in their love lives, the daughters' love lives, is all in different ways. You know, you have the sister who's married and keeping everything in control and the big career, and the husband and two kids. You have the sister who is kind of all over the place, and partying is a big part of her life. And so we see how the same wound that is happening to these four women is showing up in different ways. And that is engaging the audience. That is making the audience lean in because it's something we all identify with.
Yeah, I love that show. I actually had forgotten about that one, and that's like the perfect example.
Yeah.
You amaze me at how you remember all the details of all the shows.
But that has to do with engagement, and going into your question about how do you create concepts that stay with us and where do you begin? You engage your audience, like you make your audience feel.
No, 100%. No, well, thanks so much for that. Definitely some food for thought. So in terms of my own writing journey, I've also been reading a bit and stuff, and I actually had your book, Storyline, and I've had it for a while, but I hadn't read it, and I decided, right, Eve, now sit down and read this book because you need some inspiration. And I was actually blown away. I was like, why didn't I read this sooner? But anyway, when chapter 10, I just want to talk about, there's a few things that I want to talk about there that resonated so strongly. And I know that there's a lot behind one of the statements you made in the book. It's, you know, one can't really go and recap all of that. But you said, as I get older, I've moved from being the participant to being the observer. Talk to me about that.
I love that you bring up this question. It is something that still resonates with me and that I still think about as far as the shift. And also I love that what I went through when I was at a similar age to where you are, you know, or similar life phase, I should say, it's interesting how picking up the book and hearing about what I went through in a similar life moment is resonating with, which is the whole reason we write. The whole reason everybody writes is you want to connect with your audience. And so when I went through the conscious awareness of when I was a participant in climbing the corporate ladder, I was numbing myself along the way. I was reacting a lot versus being consciously driving life forward, because I was clear on my dream. I was clear that I wanted to participate in action toward my dream. But somewhere along the line, I think similar to what Carm went through and looking at the bear, is you're recognizing where is the fun. I've been do, and I have been participating, and I have been reaching. And now when life takes a pivot, like it did for me, leading me to write this book with the loss of a job mid pursuit, it it forces you to redefine. And when you move into the observer role, there is so much value in letting go of control and moving into fluidity. There's a quote that I love that I actually came upon in my meditation that I want to share, which resonates with me in this question. And the quote is, "Be the witness of your thoughts. You are what observes, not what you observe."
Oh, that's beautiful. That's
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, I must listen to that again and again. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate
my pleasure.
your personal input into that. Um, and then there was one more question from the book that I just wanted to ask you, that I feel many writers will identify with this in a certain point in time, because we all go through those phases. You know, we start out writing and we all blue-eyed and, you know, in awe, and we think this is going to be the next thing. And then as time goes by, the reality of the industry and life and things do set in. So you said, when you go through a series of falls, as most of us do in our lives, it can make you more reluctant to reach for the stars. So that's just so true. I think I can only really speak for me, but I have a feeling, like I said, for other writers too. And you know, I know you work with so many writers, and I'm sure that many of them are in that same space. So how have you observed them getting their mojo back sometimes, you know, after they can feel a bit jaded about the process?
Excellent question, especially right now with the writer strike going on and so many writers feeling stuck, and so many writers questioning, what is my value in the business and what is my value moving forward with this dream. So when you go through falls and in the writing career pursuit, you are going to go through rejection. It is a massive part of the pursuit. And even when you get the job, you're going to go through rejection being in the writer's room when your story doesn't get the applause that you want it to get. So the sooner that you learn to deal with the idea of failure and bouncing back up versus staying down after the fall versus falling victim and staying in that place. Now, everybody needs self-care and the recognition that when you fall, you have to be in the fall. You have to process the fall. And you have to take inventory of what are the emotions that you're feeling because of the fall. And with taking inventory of those emotions, that's where all of us have the choice of do I want to stay here, or do I want to progress forward in life, take the emotions that I'm feeling and figure out how to use them to my advantage rather than my disadvantage?
Yeah.
How to go into my inner narrative and learn that, like, you are a writer on the page and you take a blank page and you turn it into your dream through what you observe and absorb and put on that page. It is the same thing. When you rewrite your inner narrative, then the dream becomes possible again through action and choice.
Mm, yeah. That also makes me think of something you shared recently about a writer. Before, I think they even reached out to you. They read your books and they did all your courses and whatever, and only then they came to do a consult with you. And I found that terribly inspirational, because it really felt like that person was doing the work. And I'd love to follow that story, because I hope that I think you said it was a she, will continue with that enthusiasm. So yeah, watching
It
this
is.
space.
And yeah, I agree. I mean, I think for all of us, the emotional work is the hard part, the understanding of how to do the emotional work. So for that writer in particular, she pursued another dream and is coming back to this. So life circumstance now is in a place where she can pursue this dream again. So rather than just jump in and consult with me, she immersed herself in reading storyline and taking my courses and watching the film courage interviews, which reveal a lot of information about my philosophy. And then I also, another step that I was so impressed with her is when I sent her a story sheet worksheet before our call. She took the notes, she went through the story worksheet, and she had answers all prepared for the call based on the process. And so just by her saying, I know part of me is, doesn't want Jen Grisanti, as she said, to think this about me as a writer. I want you to think that I get it. And I was like, no, first of all, it's not about any of that. It's about your progressing and doing your best work. There is no judgment on my side whatsoever, other than giving you the tools to help you realize your idea and bring it into the world. And so then she just, I was like, the transformation with what she came up with was just fantastic. So it was, I think everything is timing. So I think, like, when I went through the healing of a divorce, and books would fall into my lap at the perfect time, where I felt, oh my God, this author is speaking to me. Like, they know me
Yeah.
because of what they explore. And that's the same thing that we're looking for when we watch shows and when we watch film. We're looking for the writer to see us as
Yeah.
we see them, you know?
No, I love that. And I was just having a little smile to myself about the worksheet, because I've done your worksheet, and your worksheet is hard. And it is honestly one of the most amazing tools that I've got. But I know that if I nail that worksheet, I've got something solid. But it's not easy, because you really, really have to think about what you're doing. But at least then you've actually got like that little bit of structure. I kind
Yes.
of forgot about your worksheet. I think I should go dig it out.
And I've evolved it even more. So, like, with the what we're going to talk about, I've evolved it even more. So we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, thanks so much for that. I love also hearing about everyone's experiences and journeys and things. So just one key last question is, why do you think concepts engage the audience at the high level while others fail?
I had a recent aha moment about this that is something that I'm going to explore so much more now. And that aha moment was the recognition that when the writer shows us the main conflict and we understand how the central character feels about that main conflict, they engage us. So when we feel from the start that we understand why there is a personal connection for the central character as it links to the main conflict, then you bring us in. When you add elements like conflicted familial dynamic to the main conflict, then you engage the audience at a very high level. Then the audience is like, oh, I know why I care. I know why I'm dying to see what happens next. This writer gets it.
Mm. No, I think that's also like something that is sets, certain writers apart from the others, because it's also about not hijacking the show for a different plot. Because I've caught myself in that sometimes, like you're trying to kind of pull this together and then you go down a different path. So yeah, it's not easy, but I appreciate
There
that.
is nothing easy. You're right. There is nothing easy about the writing process.
Yeah, when I first started writing, I was just amazed at like how many of all the groups and communities and everything had all these inspirational quotes. You know what I mean? Like there are some in obviously business and things like that, but in the creative process like this, it's because a lot of rejection happens and you do have to keep picking yourself up and keep going. But yeah, anyway.
On that note, wait, something I wanted to mention on that note, which is so true, like the continuous process of having to bounce back after the fall is the recognition. When I wrote my book, Change Your Story, Change Your Life, I think my biggest recognition at that point in my life phase was our failures move us forward. They don't move us back. Our failures inform us about what is not working so that we can find a better way. Just as when I was climbing the corporate ladder, the word no began to mean nothing to me. All it meant to me was, all right, this direction isn't working, try something else. It's the same thing when you fail or when you feel failure because your story gets rejected. Then what if you are open instead of fall victim? If you are open to, all right, this person isn't seeing my story like I'm seeing my story. Let me hear what isn't working from their worldview, which isn't God, doesn't make it right versus wrong. It's just their worldview. Then you take in that information and you relook at your story in an open way of how can I make this better?
That
So
is such a great thing to say, because it just ties so deeply into all the notes we get. And I've never really heard it. We've heard it so many times, right? Like you've got to take the note, read what's behind the note, all those things. But what did you say now? You said just, why it almost feels like you have to ask yourself, why are they not understanding? What have I not communicated to make them understand what I'm trying to communicate? So the accountability really is on yourself. And I think
exactly.
a lot of writers want to just go, oh, well, they just don't get it. They don't understand. But it's like any relationship or piece of communication you have, you need to walk away from that, making sure that both parties have understood. And if they don't, well, then you have to try harder to get your point across. But I really like that insight, because it can also help in that hard process of the getting notes.
Good.
Yeah, thanks for that. Well, Jen, I'm into more shorter conversations so that one can digest things. And yeah, I really, really appreciate your time and everything that you offer. You just bring so much to this industry and all the writers. And I know you've got your webinar coming up on the 12th, I think, of September. And it's free. So for anyone listening to this, just sign up, because you'll just get more of this and much, much more, I'm sure. And anyone who's worked with Jen knows that no one tops her in terms of understanding the humanness of our hearts.
Oh, thank you, Eve.
Thank you for that. And maybe just one little last question, because everyone knows I do my screenwriter safari. So it's not like a business, but I do it for love. And I've done it twice now, last year and the year before. I'm not doing one this year, but I am doing one next year. So maybe for some people who would like to come, you could just share with us, how you plan on kind of, looking at their concepts and the value of the time being on a retreat, or whatever your thoughts are.
Well, first of all, so everyone knows, Eve gives the best retreat experience in that she has created this incredible, one-of-a-kind creative sanctuary for writers to show up, to go to game drives, and to be exposed to mentors, and to have an opportunity to take your script to the next level. And this will be my third time doing this. And I love this experience so much. I cannot begin to express just how significant this experience is on your heart and on the page. So part of my process in working with writers, with the Screenwriters Safari, is looking through 4 different lenses at the concept and the script. So I will look, first of all, read your script 3 times before we show up at the retreat. Then I will give you overall notes. Then I will look at your story through the lens of the plot, the character, the theme, and emotion. So I've discovered that when you look at the story through the different lenses, then the focus becomes better in the learning process. When you separate the overall and you have a defined lens, then I'm finding that writers get the notes a lot more, and they see it instead of looking at the whole, they're looking at a perspective. So this is something I'm very excited about as far as the retreat, and also with the way that I do my 3-hour group session. You will get one-on-one, you will get a half hour for each writer, will get one-on-one time every day. So I also am finding that this is the tremendous value in getting the writer to an outcome, so that you leave the retreat feeling like you have a very clear understanding of where to go with your story. Then you will also have the experience of pitching to all the mentors, which gives you another step in tremendous value of understanding how to take your story to the next level. And it also is something that it will help you to move beyond the nerves and recognize we are all rooting for you. It is a safe place. We all want you to communicate your story in a way that we understand your story. So being on the retreat and going through the arc of growth in the life process, which you will go through from just being there, and then the arc of growth in the script process are reasons that I highly, highly recommend this experience.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words, Jen. And I just,
My pleasure.
there's a reason that it's going to be your third time, because you just add so much value to the writers, and and everyone who's there always wants to work with you afterwards. And anyone who hasn't worked with Jen, just do it. Just get on with it, because it changes everything. And I just want to tell everyone one little story. I have told them on your teleseminar, but I remember the first consult I ever had with you. I was very new. I didn't know anything. I didn't know terminology, and I was quite confused. And then you said to me, just go look at the modules. And anyway, so I went to the modules, and I was like, oh, this is what she's talking about. I get this. This is genius. So if anyone is in that phase, I definitely go and check out Jen's website with everything that she's got to offer. And obviously her one-on-ones are invaluable. So yeah, so Jen, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you,
to give up your time and everything for all of us, and we look forward to your webinar on the 12th. I think it's a Tuesday.
Yes. It is a Tuesday, September 12th at noon Pacific time. Again, it's free, and the whole motive behind it is to get you moving forward with the recognition that the strike is going to end, and you need to have a strategy. So this 100%. Is going to be an action step.
That's amazing. And then just if anyone wants to sign up or whatever, I mean, you can reach out to Jen on Facebook. You can DM her, I suppose. Because this is recorded, I don't know if there's any point in putting a link in, but you can DM me on Facebook, Instagram, and Jen. We're all over social media. So, but do you want
my email is Jen at, do you want my email? My email is Jen at jengrisanti.com.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Okay, guys, I'll probably see many of you on the 12th, and you too, Jen. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.